Welcome, everybody, to episode 26 of PT Shop Talk. On this episode, we talk about the value of clinical research and how we use it in our practice and how it's affected us. And then we finish with our top 5 movies that scared us as a kid in honor of Stranger Things Season 4 finale coming up in a few days. With me today, as always, is Nick Hocus Pocus Doling and Jeremy Scared Stupid VanKlompenburg. Welcome, gentlemen.
All right, I gave you so much dap like last week, and you're way off the mark this time.
I know.
That's bottom 3 all-time movie for me.
Whoa. Well, I wanted it to be a little fun. It's like we're in the holiday week, like 4th of July is coming up, so I didn't want to be like Nick, just murder and bloodbath Doling. I mean, that seems weird when we talk about top 5 kids movies to use that as your nickname.
Kids kids. Well, this is just because I was a kid doesn't mean these were kids movies. I was establishing before recording. I had pretty loose parents, and they were willing to I don't know what they were doing, but I was able to get away with a lot. And I had an older brother who introduced me to a lot of stuff that I was definitely not ready for.
Yeah, it's hard every week. I got to roll these out based on very little knowledge, so I'm trying. I'll do better.
You're
better.
Fine. You're creative.
I'll get them next time.
Jeremy, how about you? He's calling you Ernest. So
all good.
Could be worse.
I would have assumed that would be like the top range of scary that Jeremy would have watched as a child.
It probably is.
So I went opposite. Like Nick, I went like, what would be the least scary movie for a kid?
Yeah, I like it.
That you would have watched. And then Jeremy, I said, what would be the scariest movie Jeremy probably would have watched as a kid?
I like it. I dig it.
Yeah, I have like these weird like rules I give myself for the intros every week, and they always change. So
you don't even let us into that. You keep it all so close to the vest.
Yeah, well, it changes every week. But I always have to set myself like a guideline, so it kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah. Okay, a man of principle.
Yeah,
I like that.
always. And when we did the kids thing, is talking about Jeremy Bob Tallpants as would have been a great nickname, but like it defeats me like still keeping your guys' full name out of respect. Like I don't want.
Yeah, gotcha.
Try to be respectful.
I'm okay. I think you're doing an excellent job.
Yeah, I think it's fun. I like it.
I enjoy it. It's a fun deal. So we got the 4th coming up. Are you guys like blow stuff up, folks? You guys blow things up?
Not anymore.
No?
Sparklers.
Yeah.
Blow those up.
Oh, did you do sparkler bombs as a kid?
No.
Sparkler. What's a sparkler bomb?
Whoa. I've never heard of that. All right. We're going to pause the pod. I need you guys to go out and buy about 5,000 sparklers.
Okay.
Make them into like a circular, like where you jam all the tips of the sparklers together, and then take duct tape and completely encase them. Have one sticking out the middle. That's your fuse. You light that sucker and run for cover. That thing
is burning at like 9 million Fahrenheit.
When like all 100 of those light at the same time, it is an explosion like you would not believe. We would blow like 3-foot holes in the ground with those things. We once blew
sparklers.
Well, we blew a garbage can well over 20 feet in the air with them one time.
It's just really? With the spark, like just that, like it's because it's compressed and then
that
quick energy from it.
Quick energy explosion when they first light is so powerful. If you have,
we could do that in Minnesota.
Yeah, that's like one of the few legal fireworks you guys have over there.
Yeah, we're very restricted here.
I have not confirmed this, but people are saying bottle rockets aren't like a thing you can get anymore. I have not confirmed that.
No,
but I've had multiple.
Jeremy's lived here, or grew up in Minnesota. I don't think. When was it outlawed here?
Oh man, when I was little, I don't know. It's been a long time.
Like you guys couldn't buy fireworks, period. Like
you had to go. We bought most of ours across. Like Canby is only 6 miles away from the South Dakota border, so
you go over to Gary.
Go over. It wasn't in Gary. It was right across the state line. There was a little fireworks shot.
Approximately about 650 miles west of Green Bay.
Straight west? I don't know.
Southwest.
Yeah, help me out here. I clearly because I clearly don't know where Green Bay is. Yeah, that's interesting. So but you guys fired them off like it was no man's business. I mean, it's not like the police were like, "Oh boy, you've shot fireworks in the sky, you're going to prison." I mean, was it pretty hotly enforced where you're like,
not since we moved here. How about you, Jeremy?
No, we did. We did bottle rockets growing up. Now I'm really trying to place this when things like got pretty strict. I mean, and Roman candles and things like that. I can't remember when it was.
When my folks started coming here for 4th of July, and they made that kind of an annual routine for quite a while. I remember my dad came down the first time and we went to the big tent set up outside like the Walmart or Hy-Vee parking lot. He was just so disappointed in the lack of what they had. Mm-hmm. So, we got through that 4th of July. I want to say that was like 2011. And then the next year he like smuggled all these North Dakota fireworks down for the kids. And we were launching them all off. And I was kind of freaked out. I was worried, going out to the street, cleaning them all up as soon as they hit the ground because they used to come by. And then after a few years of that, you're like, oh, nobody cares.
Yeah. Because that's how Fargo, you're not allowed to shoot fireworks in city limits, but everybody does. But West Fargo, you can. So I mean, it's silly. It's like this wild west. Everybody's
wild west
firing them off.
Wild West Fargo.
North Dakota in a nutshell. The Wild West.
Flat. We heard it was flat today.
Yeah. I mean, they're not wrong. I mean, but you weren't wrong either. I mean, it's not like South Dakota is this rolling beautiful plains.
Paradise.
And when you go from
you're just hanging your hat on the Black Hills. That is not the whole state.
Yeah, for real. I mean, and there's that's a lengthy jaunt from like Watertown to the North Dakota border. And there's really not much at all there either.
Yeah, that's a garbage drive for sure. Mm-hmm. I couldn't imagine going from Grand Forks to Watertown.
Shout out to pod listener Wade Fliggy. Woo. Woo. Thank you for calling us out on our flatness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's what we hang our hats on. We're very prideful. Very prideful.
Yep.
Watch your dog run away for days, they say. Not the old joke.
Well, what are you doing for the 4th case?
Heading back to the old homeland. Hopefully picking up tons of fireworks and just blowing them up. That's the plan. I will say I too, as a grown adult, am a little more concerned about fireworks than I was as a kid. I don't get a lot of shoot them up into the air fireworks anymore. It's a lot of fountains and zippy-doo-dahs and all those kind of things. I don't know what they're called, but just ground fireworks. Whisker-doos, all those things. Everything that sticks on the ground. We lit our trees on fire one year with fireworks, and I have been a little hesitant since then to shoot the big bottle rockets and artillery shells and stuff. And there was a time where my friends used to do pretty good fireworks shows, and they had one of those artillery shell things fall down and blast into the crowd, and some of that stuff it's put me off of those kind of fireworks. But
okay,
you don't want to turn into JPP.
I like JP.
Jason Pierre-Paul.
Yeah. That's a weird deal, right?
That was fireworks.
Yeah,
fireworks.
It was.
Gotta be careful.
How are you a millionaire blowing your fingers off?
Crazy, and this is just you don't mix alcohol with it, but there was this crazy story coming out of Maine. You should Google this. I want to say it was Maine 2 or 3 years ago. This dude puts a construction worker helmet on, and then on top of that, they light off a box, the high level box, and his whole head melted.
Yeah, I heard that
terrible.
Story. His friends were watching him do it. They said his head just disappeared.
It's just crazy. And I'm like, what on earth possessed that guy to think that was gonna work? It's just insane. That story, reading that thing creeped me out. I'm like, that had been such a haunting thing to see. Might make my top 5 scariest movie as an adult if somebody recorded it.
Yeah, I remember that story too. It's man, it's crazy that nobody was like, hey, that's a terrible idea. Because they were talking about shooting an artillery shell off of his head. It's man, that thing's got enough explosive power to go up into the air I don't know, a couple 100 feet. Is that how far they go? I don't know distance as well, but like
pretty close.
That amount of force is going right into your head.
Oh my God.
And that means it's not a tube, right? It didn't launch, so then it exploded and disintegrated. Like
Jeremy's just in deep thought. He's just
throw up. That was a soul hitter.
I was looking up, like, actually last year on the 4th, there was a guy, 24 years old, NHL player, at this party. He's sitting in a hot tub, and somebody tilted a mortar
I remember that.
at people. Mm-hmm. And they initially thought that, like, he was just like jumping out of this hot tub, he fell and died. But they said it was from the impact of getting hit with that mortar. And you think of that, like, 24 years old, like, professional athlete, like, that's just wild.
Got the world by his finger, wrapped around his finger.
Yeah. So that's what I'm doing for the 4th. What are you guys doing?
Bring all your limbs.
Yeah.
Well,
I got them all. They're my money
the
makers.
Dolan family is going to push out in the old town and country. We're going to push out early Saturday morning and head to Jeremy's neck of the woods. We're gonna, and then I guess I'll turn it over to Jeremy. Like, what are we doing on the 4th?
Yeah.
Hopefully,
there's a surprise for Nick.
No, if the weather's good, hopefully we hang out at the beach, hang out at Lake Michigan. So
right near the beach.
Little barbecue and little beach.
Yeah.
So
I'm down.
Pleasant.
We got some patriotic gear. It just came in today, so.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that's a drive, huh?
USA.
It's a family drive trip.
Yes, first one in 4 years where we're going on a lengthy trek.
What's the distance there?
Well, I know in hours it's about 13 and a half. No, it's not. It's about 11 and a half, right?
Still
to Chicago.
Yeah. Well, so what do you do when you get to the water? Turn the car into a boat? Some sort of amphibious?
That's pretty much
They have
we got that ad on a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it's high end. I like that.
It's actually a town and country Wisconsin Dells duck.
Yeah.
That's cool. Got a nice big number on it too, so when people find you, they can see if they won the Derby.
Yeah.
You go around the lake. You don't like ferry across.
No, we're not going to ferry. We thought about it, but we're going to spend a night in Chicago. Take the kids to a pizza place. Maybe get a Chicago dog. Maybe see the Bean. I don't know.
That's so much stuff for one night.
No. Yeah. When in Chicago.
Take advantage. The Chicagoans do.
The same. Yeah. When in Chicago.
We're excited. I hope Jeremy's bride stays out of the hospital. I hope you don't drive her to early preterm delivery.
Yeah, people are firing off them fireworks.
Yeah,
ready to scare anybody, right?
Yeah. Because Jeremy, I mean, we should tell our listener. I mean, anybody who doesn't know, I know we have some followers now. Like, you're expecting you're going to be a dad twice over real soon.
Twice over. T-minus 13 days. So, yep. Coming up.
Big time.
Yeah.
That's
Nick,
pretty
have
cool.
you been, like, did you get your online midwives just in case?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just in case. Yeah. No.
Smart.
No, nobody.
No.
I can drive her to a hospital if need, and Jeremy needs to support her. I could do that part. But, no.
You guys are going to want to tag team it. Trust me.
Scope of practice.
Yeah. Right.
That's fair. Know your strengths.
Correct.
It's not wrong.
Out of state, my license doesn't hold up in Michigan anyways.
Yeah, it's sketchy in Minnesota, let alone Michigan.
Yeah. Baby delivery, labor.
Yeah. If we can order imaging, why can't we deliver babies?
That's pelvic health, right? I mean, you know how to mold that thing. You just do a couple muscle energies, out flare, double out flares.
All right, I'm with you.
Prepare the canal, right? And then transverse abdominis activation, diaphragmatic breathing. I mean, you've delivered it.
Wow. What's the research say on that?
I I'm gonna have to start to enroll a few people in some studies. So if any listeners are interested in having a physical therapist deliver your baby, let me know.
Do not
put
sign
something
up
together.
Don't sign up.
Don't sign up.
I don't think it's gonna get past the ethics board.
No, I don't think so.
But they're gonna have to deliver the baby anyways. Like, right? I mean, not like I'm asking you to do anything.
He's just
stuck.
He's just stuck on it.
Different scenarios here and different. I think there's a best case scenario and maybe closer to a worse one.
Well, you think my techniques is going to be harmful to the delivery of a baby? Yeah, silence. Confirming. That's what I thought.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say it's going to help. You guys,
moving on. We need to.
This might be the future, and you're poo-pooing it right now.
I don't want to be in that role. That's why I signed up to be a physical therapist.
I could do this via telehealth if I had to.
Did you? Okay, I want to go into our main topic, but now I'm kind of like, dude, did you watch your wife? Did you watch the delivery of your babies?
Oh yeah, both of them.
You like
the foot's,
the neck and like,
yeah, like the legs are. I was holding my wife's leg on my shoulder both times.
Really?
Yeah. So I had, and I went leg outside shoulder. So I mean, I had front row seat. If it was SeaWorld, they would have
in the hospital
the raincoat.
This was
like, or if this was a Gallagher show, I would have had the plastic sheeting.
There was in the hospital. They let you do this.
Yeah, I could have had my arm around the doctor.
You just SeaWorld and Gallagher with the delivery of your children.
Yeah,
I love it. I think
Wild West.
Get in there, guys. This is new medicine.
And yet you guys can't order an MRI.
I'm not out in the delivery room smoking cigars here. I'm helping.
This is not helping the case.
See, I could have easily had her doing some isometrics while we were with her legs. I mean, it would have been simple.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not me. Nope.
Breathe, honey.
Nope.
Zip your ribs.
I know my limitations.
Your core. Do a little pelvic tilt. Boom. That baby's right out. Reduce time 50%. Well, follow me in 10 years. See what that article looks like.
With our first child, Connor, I was all about it, and really, I remember they went in, they had to manually break the water, and well, I'm gonna partake, I'm gonna observe. And I went down there and kind of like careened my neck around, and when I saw it come out, I'm like, okay, I don't need to see that anymore, and I don't need to see it again. So from that time on, and I've thought, I mean, established I have a pretty decent stomach, strong stomach, but for some reason with my wife and her being I don't know, everything, I was like, oh, you know what, this is not for me. I'm glad I chose what I chose in life, and thank God that we have other people doing what they're doing.
Yeah, it was different than I thought it was going to be. I watched the videos in health class, so like knew what that part was all about.
Yeah, I can watch a video all day. It doesn't
matter, didn't realize like how much, and maybe it's different for everybody, but like I was surprised how much like the OB like helped the process along, like shaping the head and like massaging the outside, trying massaging. To, well, I don't know what, there's probably a better term, but like
petrissage, effleurage, where you're
helping the stretching process.
Effleurage. How are we going to document that? Jeremy, how about
I don't know.
STM.
Yeah, STM.
By 5 minutes.
To the labia majora.
This is like, we're so off the rails.
Off the rails.
I love it.
This is such a long introduction to research.
Yeah.
Jeremy, did you observe any with JC?
We ended up having a C-section. I say we. She ended up having a C-section, so I was on the opposite side of the sheet. And no, it was pretty wild. I mean, we were in the thick of COVID. I mean, next Friday she is 2, so she was born in July of 20.
Gotcha.
And it was like I didn't even know initially if I was going to even be in the hospital.
I suppose.
So yeah.
When they did the C-section, did they have the sheet that you could see through?
Nope.
No.
I know some places do that, where they'll have like the viewing window, so you could technically still see the child being born.
I would with a couple.
You know what? Actually, the nurse, like, she took my phone. One of the nurses took my phone, and she took a ton of pictures.
Really?
It was cool. So
yeah.
But I saw blood splatter outside of the sides of the sheet, and I didn't need to see what was happening behind the sheet.
Yeah, we've discussed your tolerance for horror, so.
And surgeries.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Did you get syncopic?
Nope.
Very good. Proud of you.
I did good.
So now that we're like in prep for numero 2, what's your heart telling you?
You got a glance? You got a look?
Yeah.
Peek?
Well, it's a scheduled C-section again.
Oh, it is. Okay.
So,
yeah, but you got to peek around the curtain.
Are you requesting the see-through curtain? Make the request. No. They have them.
You just gotta stay by Amy's head and hold her hand, right?
Yeah.
Smart.
One supportive. One to love her.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
There is nothing wrong with that.
I don't need to add more stress to the day by, like, she tells the story of, like, she had a tough labor, and she's like, my husband, he can't, like, something along the lines like, he can't see this.
Just preparing everybody else for you.
She's going through like day 5 of labor and just crappy like epidurals and stuff, and she's like, he can't see this, he'll pass out.
Jeremy doesn't have the stomach for this. I love it because she's like what, like 5'3", 5'4", and you're 6.
She's probably 5. She's probably 5'5" or 5'6".
Okay, I was way off. Sorry.
Well, 5'3", that's like little people.
I don't know. She's not little people. She's a gymnast. Like, that's kind of like that's a monster for a gymnast. Gargantuan.
Yeah.
All right. She's tougher than you. We've established that.
Mm-hmm.
Time to move on.
Confirmed what we all knew. I mean, if it was a research paper, it would have been 100% proven.
No further research needed.
I've never read an article like that. It would be the first one.
Very conclusive.
Yeah.
Conclusion established.
Yep. Hypothesis
Which I've
correct.
Incidentally, I've never seen that ever.
Nope.
In a journal article. But moving on to the main topic. Casey,
research articles. Yeah, you want me to lead this? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, please do. Your voice just does it for me.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fair.
For the listening audience too.
All right. Yeah. So today we're going to talk about a little bit of the value of research clinically, what it looks like for us, how we keep up to date, what kind of research we've really found through the years to be maybe practice changing or maybe not, and how that looks different now than it did 10, 12 years ago. You know, this all derived from us kind of talking about being a little more purposeful outside of this podcast with research, journal club and things like that. And then that's kind of evolved into maybe we should do some research reviews on these podcasts too. Just we have a pretty good listening audience of therapists and students and people just kind of interested in this stuff. So we thought this would be a kind of a good primer for us just to kind of talk about, you know, what does current research look like for us? So I guess that's the first question I would have for you guys is like, how much research are you guys going through and where do you digest it from?
You want to go first, Jared?
Yeah, I can. I mean, honestly, right now, I would say I'm just getting a lot of my stuff from JOSPT. Just scanning through each. That's something I'll pay for, right? I get the print, but then, you know, it's nice to have the online version too, and basically just trying to scan through articles and see what would apply to me. I mean, I'm not such a research head that I'm like, I'm just going to read cover to cover. I would say I don't necessarily have the time for that, but if it's something that jumps out, like in, you know, low back pain, knee pain, that sort of thing, where it's just like, hey, let's see where we're at. And then you just try to at least for me, I like try to file that within, because the right case we were talking about earlier, like how not guiding research can be too right now, right?
Right.
And where it's like, oh, this is the conclusion we came to for 44 patients, right? Like more research is needed. But so you try to file that and, what we learned in school and in between what we've seen in practice. And, I try to synthesize it that way, where it's probably not to the point where I'm making any practice altering, like huge changes, but just kind of small shifts based on what's coming out.
How about you, Nick? What do you rock and roll every month?
I can't go much further than what Jeremy just said. I still maintain, just renewed it today. It was my APTA membership with the orthopedic section. Same with JOSPT. I guess it was instilled upon me when I was going through school back in the day that it was probably the preeminent piece of literature as an outpatient therapist you'd be following. I still seem to find at least one article. Like Jeremy said, what I like about it is you can scan the cover of it and read the titles of each article. And right off the bat, you can start determining which ones, appeal to you. And it never fails. Every single month, there's 1 to 2 to 3 that I want to just thumb through, scan. I'll be honest, I stay away from a lot of the methods. I don't really delve that deep into that. I'll sometimes dig into the results a little bit more, but really I'm going into discussion and conclusion, and then implications for the clinician. I like reading through those pieces of it. But like Jeremy said, it's difficult to not get a little jaded, because for as long as I've been reading any articles and doing research back in school, so much of it's inconclusive, or it requires more research, or there's low to moderate at best evidence that it's going to be effective. So you got to take everything with a grain of salt. But that's really the extent of mine right now. Reading through some of the most recent issues, there's some really interesting directions that they're taking it too, as we've discussed lifestyle medicine on the pod in the past, looking at a lot more of just like one article that I want to bring up to you guys and break down more is about therapist role in prescribing physical activity and exercise, like global workout progression, stuff like that. Yeah. And I think the title of it's like walking the walk and talking the talk. I think there's so much value to that. And I like that there seems to be a gentle shift in that research body into more practical application, like where the rubber meets the road. You're not entirely into these, I guess EMG studies where it breaks down, they're still neat to me too. I'm not crapping on them, but the EMG studies that break down like your top 6, exercises that activate which muscles, like the rotator cuff, right? That stuff's still pretty neat to me. But as far as like what it really means to your patients and your approach to care, I like that.
Yeah,
I like this direction.
That'll be a good conversation to have, because I think that's a valuable role for us too. So it'll be interesting to talk about how we interact with all the other professions too. Personal trainers, things like that. We're gonna probably get some headbutting at some point when we go down that road, but that's a pod for a different day.
Yeah, it is. That would be a fun pod, because I would also propose who cares. Like we can headbutt for sure, but at the end of the day,
well, I think we're gonna win out.
Yeah, we've certainly established a lot more thorough didactic curriculum and then ongoing continuing education rather than your weekend test. Now, there's some phenomenal personal trainers out there, I'll say lowercase PT. But yeah, I think we've tiptoed around that for a long time for the most part, but some out there in our profession are not afraid to just live that life and go down that road. And I think it's as I'm looking, I'm incorporating it more. I talked about this last week. I'm incorporating more and more and more in every treatment session that I do.
Yeah, and boy, insurance is maybe going to push us that way too. As insurance reimburses less and less for the traditional things we do, are we just going to start to make that shift towards cash, lifestyle, modification professionals? Maybe that's the future of what we do. Who knows? For me, I like JOSPT. I don't necessarily care as much for the APT A one, just the standard one. I get both of them, but that one's really broad, and really it seems like it shifted a lot more towards standardized testing and methodology and teaching and all those things that maybe isn't as applicable to me in the clinic. So I've gravitated away from that one. I will say a place I get a lot of research from is Twitter. You follow the good guys, follow Chad Cook, Peter O'Sullivan. I mean, they're putting stuff out there all the time. And that's just a cool way. Cause there's, like Jeremy said, we don't have enough time to even read through JOSPT every month, let alone the 10,000 therapy articles that probably get published.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have those guys to go, hey, this is, I think this is a high quality article. These guys are smart. I do trust things like Chad Cook says or Peter O'Sullivan, just because, I mean, they're great researchers in and of themselves. So when they recommend other articles, that's pretty good endorsement. So I get a lot from there. I like Pain and Motion, group out of the Netherlands. They do a lot of their own research. I've sat through some Yoni's lectures, and I believe in what he's doing and what that crew's doing. So I think that's a good place to gravitate towards some pain research. And then I'm really lucky to adjunct at a university. So I can give a big shout out to Dr. Mitch Walden, Dr. Dallas Urban-Trout, the professors that teach with me. I mean, these guys every week are bringing me stuff like, have you read this? Have you seen this? Emailing me, printing them out for me. So that's cool, because it's like, well, we want to implement this into the class. What do you think? So like, that's a cool option too.
Yeah.
So maybe stuff I need to share with you guys more.
Do
that. Yeah.
Keep it all to yourself.
I know.
Keep your tricks.
Yeah. Tricksies. Yeah. That's so yeah. And as far as like how I digest research and how that's changed, I would say I do probably look at methods more now than I used to, just because I'm a lot more aware of confirmation bias. I'm like Jeremy said, when I get JOSPT, I go, low back pain science related stuff, manipulation, mobilization stuff. Like, okay, that's stuff I'm interested in. I'm going to read those. And then, I'll read the article that's like, oh yeah, trigger point therapy is good. Like, and I'm like, oh God, I better read the method so I can crap on this later. Like, like there's some of that, like, it's really easy to fall into confirmation bias. And that methods is like the one section then that I really dive into to go like, well, did this, just cherry pick what I wanted to confirm versus like, did they do their due diligence? Because I do think our profession still is suffering from bad research. I mean, just some of the methodology you read, it's like, man, I mean, how do you, like you said, everything goes, low to moderate evidence or needs more research, or it might be worthwhile. It's just like those methods are just kind of cruddy as far as, you compare this to, we just let the patient do whatever they wanted to do, It's like, well, they probably went and walked and
I just want to interject with one point though on that. I don't think our profession lends itself well to like double-blinded studies, right? I mean, a patient's going to know if you're receiving exercise or you're not, if somebody's got their hands on you or not, so some of the, even the attempts at it, like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I would agree with you. And I think that's why our research is subpar, because I think we try to research like pharmacies research, or, like the pharmaceutical companies research. And it's like, that's not how our profession operates.
Not the same thing. You can't give them a sugar pill and compare it to.
We need to find a better way to research consistently. And I guess we could talk about this, that we just looked at that article from JLSPT about like pragmatic tests, versus clearly, just qualitative tests. Like maybe we need more of those pragmatic things to see if they really do matter to our patients and they matter to me as a therapist in practice, and that's kind of like that 10 study we've maybe mentioned that we do. That's a much more pragmatic research study, right? They prove the efficiency of TENS, in the lab, or that's the claim they found some evidence to support it. So now let's take it to the clinic. Don't worry about the double blind. Don't worry about the control. Let's add it in. Let's let therapists be therapists. And if you add this in, does it make a difference to your patients? So,
but then how much bias? Then you argue though. I mean, if I'm just arguing the devil's advocate point, then you're like, how much bias do you got on that, right? Because you could have a therapist out there just trying to improve their own outcomes and pumping this thing up like it's the best thing in the world, and overselling the patient on it too.
But I mean, don't we do that with everything?
Depends. I mean, how much integrity you have and how much honesty you're delivering that with. like, I don't, but I'll tell you what, I'm not perfect, but I guess I don't pump them up with a bunch of fake ass shit that's not going to work and then tell them this is the most amazing thing. I mean, I'm not going that way.
No. And I guess, yeah, you can't stop people from doing that, but I think if you're the kind of
if I was in a
therapist
study
that does that, I mean, you're going to do that whether it's because you're doing TENS or because you think muscle energy works or ultrasound or dry needling or
like, these
exercises are best for glutes, you know.
Do you guys really think TENS are effective long term?
You know, it's that, I mean, there's some interesting research on how it affects the cortical level, right? I mean,
I would say I think it can be valuable if it facilitates movement and you're not taking an opioid.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
And I think if your back's sore and you slap a TENS on, it feels better and you can do all my exercises now. I mean, there's value to that.
You're trying to move them out of your practice and you're trying to get them better, trying to just say, all right, you're back to function. Here we go. Let's do it.
Yeah. So, I mean,
and then the bigger 30,000 foot view, is there anything even wrong with that? Right? Like,
no, I don't think so.
I don't know if there is either. I could argue that point.
Yeah. Right. I mean, am I fixing them? No, but I mean, do you ever have to fix people? Right. I mean, like, are we broken? You know, to say we have to fix people is to inherently say that we're broken, right? Like, I don't think we are.
All of us are broken in some way.
Well, yeah, you've seen my emotion level, like
emo. You're just dashboard confessional in like a quarter zip.
Yeah, that's Death Cab for Cutie t-shirt on under here.
Shout out to Washington State.
Yeah, so I guess, you know, that's why I think that old research style isn't that effective for us. And I do think the pragmatic things matter to us, because how we deliver it, you know, whether it's something you're studying or not, therapists deliver things in their own way. So yeah, is there bias? 100%. But is there going to always be bias when you provide treatment in the clinic? 100%. Right. So I don't know. To pretend
it's kind of inherent, right? It's because I'm going back to what I said. You're right. The bias thing is there because I'm going to do something that I believe in, right?
Correct. 100%. Yeah, you're not prescribing something if you don't believe in it, right? Or you shouldn't be.
Right. Like, you know, I think if they, you know, had approached me and said, you know, hey, I want you to, you know, be a part of, and I keep going back to the same thing. And you guys know I'm not that anti, but like if they're like, hey, Casey, we need you to do a trigger point study, right? Like we need you to do trigger point treatments, or we need you to do A-stim. Like we want you to do A-stim on every patient. You know, we're going to put you in the A-stim group. You know,
I would decline my invitation.
100%. Like I'd have to say, I don't feel like I can participate in that because it's just something I don't believe in, you know? Yeah. So, and I'm going to ruin your study because I'm like literally
you're just
not going to sell
all over. Oh my God.
Yeah. Hey, let me do this thing that doesn't work. Like
9 out of 10 pain,
you know, but really, you know, even like the 10 study we're doing, you know, it's not like they give us like a script, you know, they're not like, here's, you know, they give you the research, you know, and you can do with that as you please, right? Right. And they do like a little PowerPoint presentation of what they found in the research, but it's not like
very nice.
You know, there's a script as far as what the study is, right? Because you can't mislead people. You have to cover your, you know, what you approve by the independent review board. But as far as that goes, it's not like I have to sit down with the patient and go, this has been shown to do this and this and this, and it's so effective at this and this and this. I don't have to do that if I don't want to, right? Again, they let me treat how I'm going to treat. If I'm a rah-rah therapist that does that with my treatments, that's probably how I'll deliver it. You know, but if you're, you know, for me, again, it's like Jeremy, I go, you know, we're going to put this on you. You know, it's probably going to help you move a little more comfortably so you can get some of these exercises where, you know, it's really an adjunct for me to what I'm doing. And that's how I present it. So
cool.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think that's where studies probably are going to head, you know.
Jeremy, let's hear from you. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, yeah, I think they'll have to go that way, right? Like, it's interesting. I don't know, like it is like you get back into that piece, right? Like nothing matters, but everything matters at the same time, right? Like, and do you guys, Casey and I were talking a little bit about this before you hopped on, Nick, but do you guys have like a super valuable article to you, like a cornerstone, like this study is what I do. Like, this is a big chunk of what I do.
I think the closest thing I'll jump in is the Reinhold article about rotator cuff activation.
Yeah.
That's like the closest thing, because I still, in certain phase, non-operative too, I'll kind of incorporate some of that and consider those approaches, as far as that goes, rehabbing those muscles. And then the CPGs that have been delivered, I kind of like to thumb through those and just kind of see where I'm at, see if I'm on the common path or what's the preferred path.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's like changed throughout my career. Like, I think the first major research articles that really hit me as like, hey, maybe we're doing the right things, was like the prediction rules for lumbar manipulation, Flynn, Fritz, Childs. Like, when they came out with those, I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, we're actually like trying to determine who's going to respond to the treatments we're doing.
Yeah.
Instead
rather
of saying,
than just slap them on the table and crack them.
Right. Instead of saying like
other
these
professions do.
treatments that we've taught you in PT school are going to work for everybody. Right. Like, so that was kind of cool. And then the practice guidelines came out, and like, I like that thought process a little bit of like, what grouping are you going to start with, whether it's lumbar or cervical were the two ones that stuck out for me, at least initially. And they've grown through the years. So like,
I was gonna say, I like the nuance in that they changed the title of those, right? When they first came out, they're clinical, what were they? Clinical prediction rules, right?
Well, and they had the prediction rules and the practice guidelines.
Okay.
Two separate things, but I mean, they've adapted those 3 or 4 times now. At least I think the cervical one's been updated probably 3 or 4 times. I think the lumbar one just got updated. So like, it's cool that they're adapting. And so those were big for me, just to start to like bucket people to take the prediction rules and then take that to the next step with diagnosis and treatment.
TVCs,
say like, hey, you don't need to necessarily know it's a herniated disc. I know but that's where it came from when I first started. We move way beyond that to just go like, can we just classify these people based on their presentation, and then maybe use prediction rules? So some of those things, the SI joints, prediction rules, I still use that, thigh thrust, gapping, compression, those things to kind of suss out SI involvement.
Because it's a good one.
For whatever reason, a lot of people in Fargo seem to like send people over with SI issues, or they get spinal or SI fusions, SI injections. And then they don't work, and they send them to me, and you run them through a quick SI battery. I just look at 4. I don't think Gainsland's is really that valuable, but and it's like they're negative for all of them, and it's like frustrating. The doctor's like, yeah, the SI joint, I don't know why it's not responding. It's like, because it's not the SI joint, like,
because it doesn't move.
Yeah, right. Like, how do you? It's pretty simple. You could have did that in your clinic in 5 minutes and known it's coming from their back, right? They hang their hat on this. I forget who did the research, but like 25% of low back pain comes from the SI joint, which that research has been debunked now, but they kind of still hang their hat on that.
What do you find in your clinical practice then? Do you find a lot of positive tests that lead you toward SI dysfunction?
I think you get false positives. Because I think if you don't rule the back out and just test SI, I think you lead yourself to some false positives there. All right. If you have L4-5 issues, inflammation there, sciatic nerves flared up, probably going to get SI involvement. Like those tests are probably going to be at least mildly positive because that nerve's irritated. So therefore joints and things they innervate are irritated. So if I'm going to press on the joint, it's probably going to be sore, irritated. If I pressed on your hamstring, your glutes, they're going to be sore, irritated. Doesn't mean it's them. No, I think it's, up the chain. So I think that's dangerous. And the doctor is just going right to the SI joint without if a patient comes in and they have full lumbar motion, nothing reproduces their pain. When I test their back out and they have pain in the SI joint, and then the other stuff's positive. Yeah. Okay. I'm willing to admit there's maybe an SI component there.
Yeah, I wouldn't totally deny that there's ever any involvement at all. So.
Yeah, I think it's just, I think you would be wise to clear out the back first. But because 25%, if 25% comes from the SI joint, 75% comes from the back. So maybe you should hang your hat on that first, but that's an aside. It's probably a different pod as well, but
yeah.
So yeah, other research articles. I was just telling Jeremy, I do like, I forget it's a long name. I had it pulled up. Pain and Stress in a Systems Perspective, Reciprocal Neuroendocrine and Immune Interactions from the Journal of Pain in 2008 by Chapman Tuckett Song. Like, that's just a cool article. It was one of the first ones for me that really dived into how complex pain was. You know, when you start talking about not just, because I kind of read that after I got into the P&E stuff and like, all right, I get the brain, like how the brain interacts and processes pain. And then that article just takes it to the next level with how the endocrine system responds, how the immune system and cytokine interactions are. And like, it just, I mean, it's a 20-some page article and it just covers the surface. So it's a great article if you've never read it. Give it to read. It'll put you to sleep.
2008, though, it's borderline irrelevant, Casey.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You know, but historically, it affected my practice. There's probably a lot better articles now, but I think that one's a good starter.
When did the Reinhold article come out, Dolan?
I was just gonna say I was just gonna say yeah. Yeah. But you know that when I said that about the irrelevancy of it, that's tongue in cheek anyway.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So
because I think one asterisk sign I put on my own internal bias about research is I think that it's driven, you know, the routine nature of it, the repetitive nature of it. You know, I can't deny that my belief is that there's people in institutions that, you know, they're tenured based on the research. Their whole job is just continuing research and find reasons to research and you know, really dissect some of these things. And like you said, the approach needs to get more pragmatic, more practical in its application for clinicians, because that's where it truly matters. If you're not taking care of patients and you're not actually truly helping patients get better, what's the point of the research? Just to sound smart then, you know, but it's got to get down to a level that it can be practically applied.
Yeah, and I think that's what leads to the frustration right now is we're like in that period where the research isn't applicable, and it does seem like they're just researching to research, but at the same time, you can't do pragmatic research until you do this part of it. So we're just in this weird limbo time right now, you know.
More recently, though, I do like this shift, as I mentioned before, with the GOSPT, where it seems to be more practical. It seems to be more like global patient directed.
Yeah, and I think that's just an evolution of the research. It's just frustrating. It's taken so long to get there, you know. But
Jeremy, any final point? What's an article that hits home with you that you reference with your team?
You know, I don't. I mean, it's I don't know that I'd have one. Just like one. I thought like going through the orthopedic residency, like, I mean, you'd have 5, 6, 7 kind of quote unquote landmark foundational studies for every body part, right? Like, hey, this is like our best knowledge for, you know, like treatment-based classification, right? And getting into that piece of things. And you'd have multiple things that would say, hey, this supports this intervention, this supports this clustering, et cetera. And I don't know. I mean, there's a whole plethora of them, but then I look at them too. I mean, like you say that too, like the 08. I mean, a lot of those things, like what was it, Coppetiers on nerve gliding, like 09, right? Like, and I don't know that there's been anything better that's come out since then, at least to my knowledge. But
follow Shacklock stuff. He's got some cool new stuff. Okay. Coppetiers has some new stuff out too.
Does it? Okay. That it's like. So yeah, I don't know that I can come down to like one piece of it. I do think that's challenging, Nick. Like you discuss that side where you're like, yeah, like somebody's job is on the line with research too, right? Like I talk about that with like, you could say between the hip and the ankle, if you're talking like PTTD or, you know, plantar fasciitis or something like that, you know, you could say like, oh, well, this is all local. This is all at the ankle. This is all here. And then you'll have some other people that'll say, no, this is all coming from the hip, right? Like, and you have multiple studies that can come out on each, and it's like, again, discerning that, right? The nothing matters, but everything matters, and that's the challenge. I think it's easy to get sucked into those biases where it's like, this fits how I treat, and I've got research to prove it now. So ultimately, I think it's always about just kind of naming those biases and trying to mitigate them as best we can so that we are getting to a true place of best practice.
I wish everybody had like the ability to sit like we do and just be able to talk about stuff like that, and I don't know what that looks like. Clinically, you don't have the time in the clinic to sit down with your staff and go over research articles and argue them. And not everybody's going to have a voice like that, but like, I'm looking forward to if we get this thing off and see what it looks like when we start arguing about these research articles. Because I think our biases are different. So that'll be interesting.
Definitely.
Nobody's biased the same.
So, but it's that idea that, right, like it shouldn't be, and God, we could get into a bigger social issue, right? Like where it's like differences are okay, right? Mm-hmm. Like differences should lead us to a better spot, right? Because it should make us reflect on why we believe what we believe, and we should have some good reasoning behind it.
I think it's done the right way, yeah.
Right, yeah. And that's what I like. That's the thing that I always preach to our staff is like, hey, like, there's going to be times when you discharge somebody and you go, I didn't get them to the place that I wanted them, right? They didn't hit the level that I wanted them to. Hmm. So what do we do? Oh, they were non-compliant. Oh, it's just it was
but
this,
how far,
it was that.
There's such a spectrum. Like, at what point do you got to start going into the excuse-making mode like that? Or is it just,
I'm just saying, reflect on it.
Like,
I'm saying you reflect on it.
But do you need to get them perfect?
No, you don't.
And I think we got to come to grips with that. And again, I said it last, I feel like I'm a broken record here, but the other piece, I know we're talking research, but at the same time, like, what should be effective, right? Mm-hmm. Synergistically applying that into our practice. And at the same time, like, I just preached it to 2 patients today. Felt like they needed to hear it again. Like, nobody should care more about your injury than you, patient.
I used that today too.
Yep. Like, and I say it in a fun way. I say it in a lighthearted way, but in a caring way. Like, I care about you a lot. Like, I'm going to get you better, but you need to want to get better. And that's the biggest key there, Yep. And if they don't reach that photo expected outcome and they're supposed to be at like an 83, like, is it really worth it to see them for like 8 more visits to try to get them from a 77 to an 83?
No,
and try to bias their answers.
We're not going to be allowed to. We're not going to be allowed to anyways.
Yeah, right. No, insurance isn't going to care. But
I'm not saying from that standpoint. I'm saying whenever you do discharge somebody, there should be a level of self-reflection that you have as a clinician too, where you just go like, why did I go where I went with this patient?
Yeah,
and how can I make that better? How do I sharpen that up?
Right? I think every one of us, like, do you guys get an emotional when you do a DC? And I'll be specific. Like, when you have to do a DC for somebody who fell off your schedule, do you still get like a little bit of an emotional response as you're typing that up?
I hate it. It's like a terrible feeling, I think. Like,
it's not the same, right? It doesn't hit you the same as like when they're in there in front of you, you're closing it down the right way. I hear you, man. I'm like,
it's and you're left with a lot of doubt. You want to like pick up the phone quick and just call them and be like, what did I do wrong? Like, help me understand, because it's like, that's just, but I've lessened that a little bit, because I do think, like you said, Nick, like, we believe in what we do. We know we're doing good work. And, sometimes it does come down to the right message at the wrong time. Right. Yeah. So I think if in your heart of hearts, you gave it your best and you gave them a good message, and you didn't just falter to try to get those better outcomes, like, okay, like, I know movement's what you need. I know movement's the best thing. And, I've taken this fear away from you. Or do you fall back and go, all right, let's do ultrasound for the last couple sessions because you wanted ultrasound and that'll make you feel a little better. Like, I would feel a lot better being the guy that like did what I knew was right and planted good seeds and said, in 6 months or a year.
Yeah, maybe it matters.
You know, when the patient comes back and now the right message is at the right time. Because I'm sure you guys have had that where you saw the patient and you didn't get the outcome you wanted, or they didn't come back. And then 2 years down the road, they came back to you because they've been to everybody else and nothing worked, and they got crappy messages, and they realized, like, well, the best I actually felt was like when I came to therapy and I was working out and moving, and like
readiness to learn has changed. Yeah.
You know, it's like all this passive crap I did in the last 2 years sucked.
I saw Jeremy wince at you when you were saying something. He was like, oh.
Yeah, no, hamstring. It was a hamstring cramp. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I was bearing my heart to you, and you were just giving me a poo face. I was like,
no, I didn't mean to. Sorry.
He's mean.
Sorry, YouTube listeners, or viewers. No, yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I would say, like, I guess I've always probably, I don't know what emotion I would give to it, but it's just this thought that, like, I guess I've always taken a lot of responsibility for the patient, right? And there's that, like you said, that gap in between where you're like, man, is this the difference between this person and their 18th surgery? You know, like, could I set them on the right path? Or, you know, like, gosh, this work comp patient, like, gosh, are we going to get them back to work? You know, like, are we going to get them back to work? Or is this going to be somebody that is like, I never could after that back injury in 22, right? Like, I don't know. I think it's a balance, right? Because you can't make decisions for people. I agree wholeheartedly with you, Nick, like, where it's like, hey, like, no one should care more about their outcome than the patient, but it's also like, but that doesn't absolve us either, right? Like, we still have a big responsibility in that too. So it's that, I don't know. That was like our Jason Rodriguero, like the first weekend intensive I was to, is like, you know, like, yeah, who's got non-compliant patients? And, you know, every hand in the room, I do, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like, so is that on the patient or is that on you? You know, it's like a good reflection, right? Like, it is good to look in the mirror and just, like, there's always stuff we can sharpen up, right? And that to me is like, that kind of stuff, along with research, that's what true evidence-based practice is, or evidence-guided practice.
Evidence-guided, yeah.
How do we integrate new information, but also how do we, like, continue to sharpen our skills, right? Like, sharpen them so you can cut something and be scary.
Ooh, especially when you're a kid.
Yes. Knives for fingers.
Scary. Oh, like a man who had scissors for hands.
Edward Scissorhands.
Scary.
That better not be into your top 5.
You're gonna be hateful and loving my top 5.
You know what? Let's put a bow on this really good. I thought that research topic went better than initially thought. So
I think it's going to be fun. I really would like to make the commitment to the listeners to say we're going to get some articles.
Yeah,
we're going to read through them.
I think it's good.
I think dissect them.
You know, I think where you're going, if you ever listen to the Jocko podcast, he does that with books. You know, like we talked about a book review as well. Mm-hmm. He does book reviews and kind of breaks it down and gives theories on it or opinions on it. I dig it. I think it's a good approach, and I hope our listeners can kind of dig it too.
Yeah, and I hope, like, it's going to make me better. Right. Like, and that's, I guess, when it comes down to it, for me, super important. I mean, because I bookmark a ton of research articles every month and I don't get to a lot of them, you know, like, so it's nice to, you know, we're going to have some accountability, like, and that's really what life's about, you know, holding yourself accountable. So I like kind of breaking it down together as a group of dudes, because, you know, that's like we always say, iron sharpens iron, right? And that's kind of what we need. Hopefully I'm hoping we have some, like, gentle disagreement along the way too. Well, and I think it'll be Klumpenburg.
I hope, you know, when you're gentle.
Yeah, I hope it's hateful.
You are rough.
Nothing means nothing.
VanKlompenburg.
Yeah, but, you know, I think of that all the time when I look at these articles. Like I said, in school, sometimes we'll talk and I'll read these research articles they send me. And it'll be so interesting. Like, again, our biases are different. So they'll be like, could you believe like this part of the methodology? Like they thought that was okay. And I was like, oh, I thought it was okay. Like, because it like confirmed what I was looking for, So it'll be interesting to see if we read stuff and we're like, God, I can't believe they did it this way. Or like, that didn't make sense. Or, because sometimes they like have the review of the article and there's like a part of the article where you're like, oh man, that was like not a good outcome. And then they'll get to the, summary and they're like, yeah, that didn't matter. We won't even talk about that. You're like, what? That seems like that was valuable. So
yes, very intriguing. Very good. Tying a bow on that. Moving on. Top 5 this week, as Casey has said. Movies that scared us as a kid, as a youngster. Boy, oh boy, fellas, as I said,
36 movies.
Love my parents. Had 14 flicks on this list. Had to whittle it down to 5. It was not an easy task.
Yeah, I feel like yours is hot fire. You should go last. It's a big bang.
Work our way up. And last week
Jeremy first, because I assume that's going to be the tamest of the lists.
Oh God, yeah.
Work our listeners up.
Yeah.
Build their stomachs up.
Yeah, like that OBGYN. We're going to ease it through. We're going to help through right now. So
massage it through.
Yeah,
Jeremy's
that's a
lubricant. He's the mental lubricant for that.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh boy.
So, Jeremy,
get them fingers in there. Tell us
take
what
us
you got.
away with
Number
your
5.
number 5. Hey, you went to fingers. I wasn't gonna go there. Oh my God.
Dude,
number 5.
So you guys have to understand, like man, we didn't have TV until I was like 7.
Yeah, same here.
And
VHS.
Did you guys have a VCR?
Yeah, but we didn't have any scary movies. So you guys are gonna laugh at this one.
I can't wait.
Because I was like,
me too.
I was like 3 or 4 when I watched this, man. The Wizard of Oz scared the living daylights out of me when I was a little kid.
All right.
Those freaking monkeys. Like I thought,
the monkeys.
I thought I was gonna get taken away by them.
What about the witch? Was the witch scary to you?
Yeah, she was. So, you guys are gonna be like, this is the dumbest stuff, and Nick's gonna be like, yeah, I was 4 and I saw somebody get chainsawed in half.
No.
Yeah.
Wow. Come on.
Johnny Depp got pulled through the bed, turned into a
Shout
blood
out,
cannon.
You know what? Shout out to Marianne Doling. You weren't a bad mom. Regardless of what Jeremy's saying.
I didn't say that. You know what's probably the bigger.
It's inferred, my brother.
No, what's probably the bigger.
I don't support what Jeremy's saying either. Next month.
You had an older brother. I had older sisters. They were like, super straight laced.
It's been established too. My older brother, same dude who came in when I got my Motley Crue Dr. Feelgood cassette. So proud. He's like, fags. Which you could say in '89.
You could. You can't say anymore.
Can't say anymore. Broke my heart.
Who's in charge of getting this approved on YouTube?
We're gonna get suspended.
We are not.
I'll put the NSFW mark on this one.
Yeah. I'm just retelling a story. I'm not saying that I believe in those.
Why didn't you do quotes then? You should have did air quotes. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Now we know it's just a retelling.
Apologies to any of our listeners that were offended by that. That was a true story though. It literally happened in my brother's bedroom.
Historic recollection. That's okay.
Went right in. So excited.
If we're gonna ignore the past, that's the same as saying it didn't happen. So proud of you, Nick.
Thanks, good. Guys. It's healing.
Yeah, that was healing.
All right. Very good, Jeremy. Wizard of Oz. I think 1939. You're gonna Did you produce it?
Yeah. You know, I gotta say, Jeremy, I always do research on these things, make sure I don't miss anything. Wizard of Oz hit a lot of people's lists of scarring movies.
Really?
Yeah. So and it was the monkeys for all of them. So
really? Just ripping apart the straw man. Is that it?
I didn't think that was bad.
Straw man.
Okay, what was so scary about the monkeys? Come on.
When they're flying.
Get into it.
Yeah.
Did they have teeth? I don't even remember. I hated the Wizard of Oz. I thought that was such a garbage ass movie. Like, and it was always
1939.
On. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, why were we still putting it on TV in 1989? Like,
because it was like a classic, you know.
It sucked.
You know what their budget was?
There wasn't a good thing about that movie.
$12,000.
What was their budget?
I don't know, 12. No, I'm gonna say $35,000.
Wiki says 2.8 million.
What?
Really?
Had they made
that was a
much
lot of
at that
money back
time?
then.
I'm surprised that had even been printed out that
Technicolor,
much.
yeah. Well,
it didn't hold up. Terrible.
Well,
it's
only your. I'm not going to judge because it's only your number 5.
Inflation adjusted.
Hey, Jared or Casey, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is an absolutely terrible movie. Its sequel is often known as one of the worst movies of all time. This one's not quite that bad. From 1986.
Are you going with Troll?
I'm going with Troll. All right. So this movie, like, I think why it scared me so much as a kid is like when he like turns into the little girl or whatever, uses his ring. I don't remember much of this because we watched it a few times, but like it terrified me, so I couldn't watch it anymore. But like it's like in the laundry room. I lived in the basement of our house. It was like the same damn room. So like
the troll was coming for you.
Yeah, I kept worrying this troll was gonna come and turn me into like a plant pod, and I would turn into a magical fairy forest, and that would be my life. So this
pretty crappy.
Yeah, this was that wasn't a good end for me. So it scared the hell out of me. So 1989, Troll. Yeah. Pretty cheesy now, in retrospect. I just watched the trailer today for it. I was like, okay. I was a wiener kid, because that wasn't that scary. So
much has been made about the sequel. They've even made a documentary about it. Like,
yeah. I've never seen the sequel
ever made or something.
Yeah, but apparently it's one of the worst movies ever made. So
yeah, I've seen so many clips of it. Yeah,
Troll 1 was great.
It's listed up there with like The Room when they do top 5 like worst movies of all time.
Yeah, and was it like The Hand of Doom or whatever?
Yes, you're breaking me in half, Lisa.
Yeah.
Troll. Another list. Okay. My number 5 is from 1981. It is The Howling. Came out opposite of American Werewolf in London. I think American Werewolf in London is a more superior movie. I think it's more enjoyable. Totally. But The Howling scared me. I mean, it's definitely darker, and there's a pretty intense transformation scene. There's a few of them actually in this movie, but like the first one when he's coming to get the I think it's Dee Wallace Stone plays the investigative reporter. She went on to be like in Cujo. Yeah, man, scared the heck out of me. One of those movies too where I remember like looking away, like as you know the bad stuff's coming, the music's playing, like they're so good at setting the scene and you're like looking away like all the time. Very good. I've always been more of a werewolf guy than a vampire guy as well. So full disclosure on that. If I got to draw the line in the sand between those two mythical creatures of the night.
So when you were watching Underworld, you weren't.
Underworld sucked.
You weren't.
Give me a Silver Bullet every time.
Right.
Silver Bullet made my short list, but Howling was my number 5. Very solid movie too. I believe Joe Dante. The interesting thing is Joe Dante directed that. I'm pretty sure, and so he was kind of known for a little comedy as well, and he went on to do Gremlins.
Ooh,
yeah. The Howling. There was a couple of them, so they kind of all meld for me. But I don't know if it was the first one or the second one. They were pretty cultish, both of them, like werewolf culty type thing, right? Yep. So I was like, some of those scenes were pretty intense. Like you said, the transformations were.
Yeah, violent. I think it's like, it was like so much great practical effects and. I can't remember if it's Rob Bottin or Stan. I don't think Stan Winston was in that one. I don't think so. But some of those like classic 80s effects guys were like on their game with those transformations. So
yeah, I remember looking away at those transformation scenes a few times. That one stuck with me too. That was creepy. Yep. I'd agree. So, London, Werewolf in London, better movie,
yeah.
Howling was
fun movie too.
Sure.
It holds up really well if you've seen it recently. It holds up still.
Yeah, the ending is phenomenal. I mean,
fantastic movie. All right, J-Bone, what's your number 4? Tell us why it's Ernest.
Ernest didn't make the list.
Damn it.
This was
one good. Give us something good.
It's not gonna be good. This was a VHS that we had that I remember my mom took it away. I don't know if it was just like, this was probably back in the day where we were like buying like $2 VHSs for like family movie night.
So it got banned in the Klomp house.
Yeah, it was Grizzly, Have you ever heard?
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah,
it's like a giant.
I've never.
It's like it's like the jaws of bears, basically.
Yeah.
It's like this bear is terrorizing the national forest, and there were some pretty gory things. I remember for quite a long time being like, I'm never gonna go camping. I mean, I still hate camping. I can go there too, but yeah, they were like, this is not safe for your eyes, so they took that VHS away.
This is a movie from 1976.
Yeah,
that sounds right.
Okay. Yeah, rated PG. Rated PG.
Yeah.
I'm watching the trailer right now. It's terrifying. That looks, he's like a teddy bear. That's like a teddy bear costume.
Hey, man.
I get it.
Quit comparing childhoods, man.
You are great. You're blessed, bro. You had a blessed childhood. I hear you.
I've been told to respect privilege
Casey
more.
And I were scarred.
I didn't get to watch scary movies, and it's good because I hate them.
Yeah. Oh man.
Hate. I didn't think you had hate in your heart, my brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
this looks like
surprised. I get surprised every day. Casey, what's your number 4 there?
Sorry, I'm stuck on Grizzly. All right. My number 4. I would say my number 3 and my number 4 are definitely not like traditional scary movies. But I will say, like, as a kid, like Nick, I was in the same boat with you. I mean, we watched Friday the 13th. We watched Child's Play, Nightmare on Elm Street. I had an older brother too, and he was big into horror movies. But there was something about like those horror movies. I knew they were going to be scary. And so like they didn't affect me as much, like because you just kind of knew it was a scary movie. It was like in the moment scary, but never really stuck with me. Never really got nightmares from those. I can't say I got a ton of nightmares, period. But so my next 2 movies might not seem like super scary movies, but like as a kid, they were like, I didn't expect that, and that is sticking with me. First one from 1978, animated show based on one of my favorite books of all time, is Watership Down. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this cartoon. Based on some rabbits, and the one gets premonitions that they need to leave the warren, and so his brother and him leave with a couple other rabbits, and pretty gruesome scene right out the beginning because they leave and there's a sign that's like a mall's coming, and then they have a scene where like the excavator comes and like grinds the rabbits up into the ground, that stayed in the warren.
Wow.
And then they move on, into the cornfield, and within like 5-10 minutes, one of the rabbits gets like taken away by a hawk. Like you're like, what? And that's just some pretty intense
this called
scenes.
Again?
Watership Down. It's a great book.
Watership Down.
Yeah, great cartoon, great book. There's a scene where they end up in another warren, and the warren's huge, but the rabbits there are like really weird. And this warren turns out that like a farmer's raising these rabbits and feeding them so he can snare them and kill them later. So then one of the rabbits gets caught in a snare, and it's around his neck. He's bleeding from the nose, from the mouth. The other rabbits are trying to eat through the snare to save him. And like, you think he dies right in front of your eyes. He lives. And then they end up in another warren later. Well, they end up in a warren. They make their own. They're happy. And there's a competing warren not far that's a very, I would say, Nazi-esque rabbit warren that comes and wants to steal all their women, so they can make more babies. And they go to war with this place. And there's some pretty grueling scenes there where one of the rabbits from their other warren that went to find them gets caught up in this warren. And being he wasn't from theirs, they scar him up. So they cut his face up, but then he becomes like one of their generals. And
so the whole thing just like scarred you.
The whole thing is just super intense, like especially for like I said, an animated kid show. You think you're gonna get into this like nice Bambi-esque story of rabbits, and like it's
nope,
pretty serious.
Not today, homie.
Nope. And the book's phenomenal. I can't say
Watershed, baby. Got it. Ooh, I'm gonna have to look that up, kind of see what it's all about.
Give the book a read, man. I know you like books.
I do like books.
It's a kid's book, but it's like 500 pages. So
it's I don't know if I have that much time for a kid's book. I don't know.
Or do
worth it? Yeah.
I'll have my son read it. I'll see what he thinks.
Have him give a book report. I like that.
Yeah, I like that.
That's my number 4.
All All right, my number 4 from 1989, a little bit of what do you call it? Derivative of other great films, but it is called Leviathan. It stars Peter Weller in the main role. You guys know Peter Weller, right?
Correct.
RoboCop. So he's like a underground deep sea mining captain, and the crew investigates like a sunken Russian ship. Sunken Russian ship has like a little flask with some, it turns out there's a mutant gin in there that Daniel Stern from Home Alone fame, fame, he's the first dude to like drink this down, him and this other chick, and they like, unbeknownst to them, they get super sick and then start mutating into this giant, disgusting, like half person, half fish monster. Super violent, and then the rest of it's like alien underwater.
Our main man, Ernie Hudson's in
Ernie Hudson, baby.
What?
Ghostbusters
Yeah,
in the
we just
house.
talked about him.
The amazing Richard Crenna is in that from Rambo. He was Rambo's Colonel. So a lot of good actors in it. The movie creates all this awesome tension because they're all the way down to the seafloor of like the Atlantic Ocean. So you can't easily escape, and the effects are really good, creepy vibe, but again, it's pretty derivative of other horror movies. And what I'm going to say here, I'm going to throw this mainly out to Casey because I know he'll be kind of familiar with this, but maybe even Jeremy will pick up on this. I'm just realizing now, I'm looking through my top 5, and I have every single one of them has one main theme, and I'm going to wait till the end of it and see what you think.
People transforming.
Correct.
I like gross monster. I like this like fake Daniel Stern head like attached to him.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
What was the other one where they're like underwater? The Abyss? Is that around the same
year? Same year, but obviously James Cameron's not going that hard R with like The Abyss. And The Abyss is obviously a much superior film, just a better movie. But
yeah, because I remember watching The Abyss as a kid, and that was creepy. Like the tone. You're right.
Did they remake that?
No.
The Abyss?
I think they were talking about it.
1989.
It did.
He did it after he did Aliens.
Okay.
Before he did Terminator 2.
Yep, 1989. Nailed it, Nick.
Yep. But Leviathan, look it up. Underrated. I think it's an underrated 80s horror gem. I really do. And again, good cast. Really good cast.
Really good cast. Looking at it, it's impressive.
I'm blanking on his name too. There's another guy. He went on to be in like Chicago Hope Forever.
Hector Elizondo.
Hector Elizondo. Yep. He went on.
He's on a lot of stuff.
And I don't know who did the special effects in the movie, but they did a lot of creative transformation scenes. Very, so that, I mean, it's different. But okay, now that's my number 4. J-Bone. What is that number 3?
This is the movie I did not completely watch. So take it for what it will. But this was not allowed in the VanKlompenburg household.
The second banned film.
This is great.
I was staying over at my friend's house growing up.
Yeah, I like it.
And we watched Child's Play.
Mm.
And I'm not afraid to say I did not watch that whole thing. That scared the daylights out of me. I think that was probably freaking possessed little doll.
Did you have to go home? Did you call your parents to come pick you up?
No. I tried to play it cool. I'm sure I got made fun of about it for years.
You were like, I'm gonna go shoot some midnight hoops because I'm badass.
He was he was shunning his eyes under the covers. I don't do well with possessed dolls. That's just, even though like the logic of it, right? You're like, this stupid little doll's running around, like you don't think you could like incapacitate this doll.
You're right. I was gonna
destroyed lots of toys as
put a 5 gallon bucket over him. You'll be fine.
You're a kind of a Lord of the Rings guy, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting little footnote. The guy who did the voice of Chucky is the same guy who does Grima Wormtongue.
No way.
That little Yeah, the dirty little wizard who's kind of,
you
doing his little
wizard,
making King Rohan like really old. So that's Wormtongue. Stephen, God, I'm blanking on, not Dorff. It's not Stephen.
Stephen Dorff does golf.
No, not that. But same guy. Same guy. He was Chucky.
That's funny.
That is a fun fact.
Yeah. Well, Case, what's your number, Trace?
Yeah, so second of my non-horror movies on the list, from 1988, movie I was like super jacked to see because it seemed really fun based on the trailer.
Rain Man.
Yeah, scarred me. I was like, man, that dude just counted like all those tongue depressors so fast.
His brain scared you.
Yeah, I didn't know people could be that smart. No, it was Who Framed Roger Rabbit, actually.
Really?
Yeah, specifically the Judge Doom scene where he gets run over by the steamroller, then he blows himself up. You find out he's a toon. Spoiler alert, I guess, if you guys haven't watched it, it kind of ruins it for you.
34 years later,
yeah. But when he goes like, he had red eyes and he sounded just like this, and he changed his voice, and it was
got scared. Did you get goosebumpy just now?
I did not like that. You were coming off the scene where they like throw the shoe like in the acid or whatever that crap is, acetone.
That's right.
And,
yeah.
You're like, you just saw this adorable little shoe get murdered. And, there was other scenes leading up, like when he thought he was seeing Jessica Rabbit and it turned out to be like that crazy toon lady that was chasing him. Like that scene terrified me. Like it was just, as a kid, like, again, I didn't expect it. I thought I was going to see this fun little animated movie.
You're not. That's such a good movie, though.
It is really good. And that's the frustrating part is I refused to watch that movie for about like 15 years after that.
No.
Because it scared me so much. And there's probably not a lot of movies that I've seen that I've like refused to watch again because it creeped me out that much. So this was one of them. That's why I made my list. I would not watch it because of that Judge Doom scene at the end.
Well, it did have Bob Hoskins in it. Mm-hmm. He was great.
No, like now that I watch it again, I'm like, this is a solid movie. It's crazy they haven't done like another one. It was
dang creative too when it came out. It
was cool, like how they did it, and the animation, real life mixed so well together for that time. Like, seamless. And the story was cool. The world they built was cool. I
kind of like that old kind of 1930s noir type of detective story vibe. There's been a few flicks like that's a kind of a subplot within Blade Runner that I really like, that theme. So I think it works. Cool. My number 3, staying with my hard R approach, is from 1979. It is Alien. Pretty well documented. It's a movie that it's one of those flicks where I remember, because I obviously am not, like, it predates me. And I remember seeing the second one before I saw the first one. And the second one is just, they're both really fantastic films, but from a tone standpoint, very different films, kind of thematically pretty different. And I remember hearing about how the first one was so scary. I remember my dad telling me he never liked it. It's like, I never liked it. He even said he got scared during it. I was like, whoa. So it had a reputation of itself before I ever rented the VHS one time. And I remember watching it for the very first time as like an afternoon. And I was still like, everything about it, the atmosphere of that whole movie is perfect. So well done. Ridley Scott was insanely top of his game back then. Great performances. Obviously Sigourney Weaver launched her. It kind of created that feminine hero, the heroine. But Tom Skerritt's great. The whole sport, Yaphet Kotto's great. And the ship itself, I think, I agree with all. I've seen so many like dissections of this film over the years and documentaries on it. The ship itself has like personality, so to speak, or a character within the movie that lends itself to it. And the idea, again, body transfer is something latches itself onto that dude's face, like the eggs itself, like the way that's created is creepy. And just being something in your body that's against your control, that's a scary thing to me. I actually think that's the scariest part of the movie. When it starts hunting the rest of them, I like that stuff too, but I think it almost is scarier in the first half.
Yeah, the build up to the chest burster is intense.
Classic. I mean,
also like the android reveal. See, that's pretty intense too. Like,
also from Lord of the Rings, Jeremy. Ian Holm. He's Bilbo.
Spraying milk everywhere. Like, I was the same boat as you, Nick. I saw Aliens before I saw Alien. So actually, I didn't like Alien that much because I was pretty young, when Aliens came out, and like I was expecting this. No, I was expecting this like space Rambo movie, like Aliens. And it's like, it's just a bunch of adults talking. Like, it was just like I can appreciate it now when I go back and watch it because, like you said, like the atmosphere of that movie is. I don't know if there's many movies that can compare to the atmosphere.
I know. Even when they land on the planet, there's like chill to it. It's like they should not be doing this. As the viewer, you're like, this is not good.
Yeah, and it's funny, like there's a pretty early on scene in the movie where they're like going through the ship and like the alien's actually in the shadows, and most people don't even know, have never even noticed that in the movie. It's like already stalking them, and that's cool stuff like that.
And I think a lot's been made about H.R. Giger and his like, the night terrors that framed the creature design stuff. I mean, yeah, and there is something about like his melding of like sexuality with it. That adds to the whole creepiness of it. So some of the stuff that got rejected is like crazy to see too. Have you ever seen the artwork?
Yeah,
you're like, no, that's pretty much a penis.
Right.
And we don't need to see that, like, to be scared.
No, yeah, right. Yeah. Oh yeah,
which pretty much they still kind of tried to do. I mean, it's kind of wild, but okay. That's my number 3. Very, very famous. Obviously, no real surprise there, but I'll admit I was really scared watching that whole thing as a kid, and I think it took me a few viewings before I could watch it like not like this. Okay. All right, Jeremy, what's your number 2? We're getting in a thick of
you set the bar pretty high on your number 3. Like I didn't realize we were going to get hits like this from you.
Yeah, Child's Play, baby. I like it.
Woofda.
Dude, this was
scarier than anything on my list.
No, come on. This is another one that was not. This was another friend's house movie. And I was trying to place like when we would have watched it, and this was definitely like a peak in like not watch movie for me too. And it was Silence of the Lambs. I want to say we were in like 4th or 5th grade. And I think the scariest part, like the same thing about like true crime to me today, is that there's legitimately people like that out there.
Yeah.
Like, and people that you wouldn't like. We were talking about the other night, like Amy loves true crime, and like she was reading this book, and they said like they figure statistically like 27 times in your life you pass within close proximity of a serial killer.
I know you said that. You've quoted that stat on this pod before, and I don't know.
I don't either. I hope not. But so, you know what? I honestly have not gone back and like watched the whole film. Like,
oh, really?
Wearing skin and
it's
eating
super good movie.
Brains. You know what?
Eating brains doesn't happen till the next one.
Oh, it is okay. I did go back and watch Hannibal, the TV show.
That's really good. That? Really good. Probably some of the.
Is Mads Mikkelsen Hannibal Lecter in that one?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, some of the best cinematography and imagery in like a TV show I've ever seen. I mean,
that I binged the heck out of, but I have still not gone back and watched. Like that's a one and done for me, and I'm trying to go back into my memory banks from like 14.
It's great. Jodie Foster is incredible in that movie too. I think she won the Oscar back then for that movie.
I think she did, but I think
she's still just incredible. She gets she gets kind of forgotten about because it's Anthony Hopkins. Like, I mean,
he's good.
Hannibal Lecter was insane. Have you guys ever seen Manhunter?
No, that's supposed to be the first, right?
Yeah, yeah, kind of predates it. And then Red Dragon is basically a remake of that.
Because Red Dragon was the name of the novel, and then they did the movie Manhunter based on Red Dragon, and then redid it.
Yeah, Manhunter is pretty good. Red Dragon's all right. I think Ray Fiennes fantastic as a villain, but You're
I
right.
think I could probably handle it now.
That final scene where he's got like the night goggles on, back to Silence of the Lambs, where Jodie Foster's in his basement and trying to look for him, all the lights are out, and he's got like the night vision goggles on, he can see her. Like, that's such a powerful scene. It's such a gripping scene. And yeah, he was such a terrible villain. Ted Levine, I think, is the actor that played the villain.
Yeah.
You know, or put the lotion on her skin.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. To me, he was creepier than Anthony Hopkins. Like,
God.
He seemed more real to me, you know, like Hannibal Lecter seemed like a movie character. That guy seemed like,
yeah.
This is what a real serial killer's like.
And like that scene, I was just talking about this with Michelle, I think, where he's faking the injury in the beginning and he kidnaps her. Oh, can you help me get this into my van? You know, and you're like, no, don't do this.
Don't help people.
Right? Yeah.
Don't help people.
That'll teach you.
God dang.
Yeah, that movie won 5 Oscars. That's a good movie.
Jonathan Demme, fantastic. Yeah, right? Jonathan Ted Demme. Who directed? Jonathan?
I think it was Ted.
Was it Ted? Jonathan. It's Jonathan.
Oh, yeah. Jonathan Demme. Ted Talley was the screenplay. Sorry.
Yeah. Ted Demme was his brother, and he passed away a few years later. I think Ted did like Blow and some other movies. But yeah, Jonathan was top of his game. All right, Casey, you're number 2.
My number 2, 1990. This is a movie that sat with me for a long time in my life. We talk about movies that created fear for me. This was one of them. As a kid, I didn't realize this was supposed to be like a dark comedy. It was just pure horror to me. It was Arachnophobia from 1990. Man, as a kid, we grew up in the country. Like, we had spiders all over the place. Didn't think twice about it until I saw Arachnophobia. And then I hated spiders for about 20 years. Like, some of those, because it was so creepy. Like, the spiders, you know, would crawl into the football player's helmet or crawl into the shoe. And you're like, oh, God. You're gonna be dust in no time, like, and it was not. Why did
the people deteriorate so quickly?
I don't know.
I don't think they ever explained that. But.
Yeah, I just recently tried to rewatch it. I think when we were in Dallas for PPS, it was. I was like, I'm gonna watch this, and I didn't make it. It
still turns into like a full-blown action flick at the end where he has the nail gun
and stuff.
You know, if I just take out the egg sac, it's all over.
Yeah, fun fact in my research, the giant spider at the end, animatronic, was I forget his last name, but Jamie from Mythbusters was his first movie creation.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yep. So good Jeff Daniels role too. I mean,
yeah, he was actually, I don't know. He was good in that. Like I said, when I rewatched it in Dallas, I was like, oh, he seemed like he put effort into it at least, you know, small town doctor.
Yeah, I like how he plays up the phobia piece pretty real, pretty good.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that, Jeremy? Got any thoughts?
Never seen it.
No.
No.
Too scary?
No. Yeah, I've never seen it. I'm
pretty quiet over here.
Put it on my to watch list.
I don't know if I can recommend it.
It's not bad.
It's not
in your top 5.
Well, yeah, movies that scared me. It's not like it's top 5 movies I recommend for you.
Yeah,
I can't say. Are you telling I should watch Grizzly tonight?
You maybe should.
I might YouTube some scenes.
I saw the trailer and I'm set.
You're hooked, aren't you?
You're set. You've seen enough.
Yeah.
You saw the whole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't imagine there was much difference from the trailer. It was like a bear and a family, and he was hunting them, and they were shooting him. Okay. I get it.
Good stuff. Yeah.
That's my number 2.
Now you're number 2. My number 2, I think I maybe told this story once on the pod. I hope not, but if I did, I apologize. You're going to hear it again. The Fly, 1986. I think there's just something so scary about not being losing control of your own body. The slow, gradual transformation that happens. I think the first time I watched this was like a Saturday night. It was on Fox, something like that. And I stayed up. It came on at like 10 p.m. I stayed up and watched it. Huge regret. I think the next 2 or 3 nights, I'm like, I couldn't sleep through the night because I kept thinking he was there's like a scene where he cracked, like Gina Davis is like seeing a doctor, and it's kind of messed up. She knows she's pregnant. She's like going to have an abortion. because she doesn't want to have this mutated baby. And he comes crashing through the window to like abduct her back. And that always kind of spooked me out. Like, his fly version Jeff Goldblum and crashed through my bedroom window and like, that's scary. But
that's how you were gonna go, huh?
But again, a lot of gross out stuff. Again, the theme of body transformation, body horror is huge. I think there's just something inherently very wrong about that, very scary, and it hits home with me. And I don't know if there was anybody better at that than David Cronenberg. He did an amazing job taking like the original source material, which is just kind of corny and kind of hokey, and just turning it into something completely different, and really doing a slow burn with it. Because I think I don't remember, it's been so long since I've seen it, but I want to say it takes place over months, like this transformation, because there's also a period like after it's early on established that he's transforming and he's not right. I think Gina Davis has quite a long break from him, and then when he finally gets her to come back and check on him, he's like greatly mutated, and they're like recording and stuff, and it's pretty. There's so many gross out things in that. And, yeah, it doesn't sit well in the old tum tum to go back, but brought those two together for a while. I think Gina Davis and Jeff Goldblum, I don't know if they got married, but they were quite the item for a while. So little side note. Davis
she was the bee's knees there for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Then just completely fell off the map. I don't know. I'm sure there's a story behind that, but
she came back. Long Kiss Goodnight was pretty good.
Yeah, that's like the last thing I really ever remember in though.
Yeah, not a whole lot, but that's my number 2, The Fly, 1986, David Cronenberg. Kind of considered the master of body horror. I could have put Scanners is on my short list as well, but I don't know. I truly don't know if I watched that as a kid though. So I mean, that's the other thing I was wrestling with. So, all right, that's my number 2. Jeremy, what's your number 1?
You guys are gonna get a kick out of this one. This is by far like the most like
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
No, I guarantee you guys won't have seen this. There is this like.
Is it banned in the VanKlompenburg house?
No.
Okay.
Gosh, we watched this in church. It was crazy. Like there's this like there's like this 1970s. The first movie was called A Thief in the Night. So this is like about like the biblical prophecy of Revelation. Okay. So there's this rapture, right? And people are gone, and then they've got like the government's hunting people that are Christians, and they were guillotining them, they're chopping their heads off. And I swear I bet I had to be like 5 years old when I saw this, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna get my head chopped off. It was wild. I can't tell you really much more about that because again, this is going back into the memory banks. I've never watched it again, nor do I have any desire to.
Some time. Walk down memory lane.
They're horrible. Like, I mean, no offense to like the genre of like Christian cinematography, but like most of the time that's trash anyways. But from a movie standpoint, but these were even worse. I mean, they were in like 1978, 1972, somewhere in there. So production
scared pretty low.
The living daylights out of me growing up.
Say it again. Say the title.
It was like a whole series, and again, I would have to go back and look even more. Like the first one was called A Thief in the Night,
from 1972, correct?
Then there was like The Mark of the Beast, and there was like four of them, I think. But it was like enough to make me poop my non-horror pants growing up.
Poop away, my big brother.
Yeah. You're allowed to poop whatever you want to poop at.
You can.
Don't let people tell you what
I did.
When you can't poop.
You.
No, you're good.
They're in some sort of singing traveling band. Is that right?
I think so. It was wild, man. From what I remember, it was wild.
Oh, there's a cobra? Is there a snake in the movie? Holy moly.
Now I'm out.
I hate snakes.
Yeah, maybe that's where it all started from, Jeremy. Maybe you didn't realize that. Thief in the Night. Oh my goodness, a man got shot in the head. He's dead.
Yeah.
There's blood everywhere. You watched this in church?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
Hellfire and brimstone.
He's like, how did this not get banned in your household?
It looks like one step away from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Same film quality for sure.
Toby Hooper's making it.
Yeah. Huh.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Learn something new every day.
Dude, yeah. All right. Well, Casey, take us away.
Yeah, my number one. I realized I might have cheated on this one because I guess I don't know if it's necessarily a movie. I suppose. I just
come on. Follow the criteria.
I'm so sorry. I don't know. It's such a. I would consider it a movie.
Okay.
1990.
A movie.
It's the miniseries.
Miniseries, two-parter.
I'll allow it.
I think if it would have been 8 or 9 episodes, I would have been like, all right, I don't count that. But like, we really shot it as a movie, made for TV, broke it up just because you can't have that long of a thing on TV. But yeah, that sucker did a lot of things to me. Fear of clowns, fear of basements, fear of the sink, like the scene where the kids are talking through the sink and the blood boils up and sprays the whole room with blood. Man, there's a lot of intense scenes there. There's a werewolf scene in there. Locker room shower scene where he comes out of the drain in the shower. That made locker rooms creepy. Like when you're the only person in there, you're like, is that noises coming from the showers?
Pennywise in there?
Yeah, right. I believe that. I mean, that movie. I mean, still to this day when I watch it, obviously the effects are a little cheesy, but it like. And I think I've said on this show, like I still think it's creepier than the new one, just based on everything was real life. There was no CGI. That it was all there was some
practical.
Claymation. That stuff sucked, but other than that, like the costumes and things and the situations, I thought they were creepier. So it just holds with me. The movies, it holds up. The suicide scene where Stanley kills himself.
I think that's done better than the new one. I'll agree with you there. But
you just and it catches you kind of by surprise because I hadn't read the book at that time. I did. It's like, whoa, how is one of the main people dead? Like, how are you gonna
Stan, right?
Yep.
Stan.
Yep. He tells his wife he loves him, goes in the tub and kills himself.
That's such a powerful thing because he's so scared.
Yeah,
like
he's so scared.
He's not gonna go back.
Yeah, he'd rather die than.
And he knows and then you find out kind of and it's like, don't they kind of theorize he did that to help them?
Yeah, I think that's more in the new one. I think the miniseries kind of says, he was the last one to see Pennywise, and so he was just so much more close to Pennywise, affected by Pennywise.
Yeah, he was the one that he was almost eating.
Yeah,
when they were kids.
So
good. I had it on my short list, so I hear you. I mean,
I think just the phobias it created. I mean, it just played on your fears as a kid so well,
Yeah.
And I watched it on TV with my parents. Again, sorry, parents, and you're not bad, but you shouldn't have let me watch that.
They were like, "Isn't that the guy from Clue?"
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, Clue's great."
And Harry Anderson from It's the Night Court guy.
Yeah,
John Ritter from
John Ritter.
Three's Company.
All these lovely, happy people. Annette O'Toole. Just lots of great people.
Awesome. I mean, I the one thing I disagree with you on is I think the newer versions did a better job.
I think it's a better movie, but I don't know if it's any scarier.
I don't know. Well, you're right. It's hard to take yourself away from where you were when you were a kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how you interpret
there's some
it
bias
and digest
to me.
it.
Yeah, like because you know a lot of the scenes how they're gonna pan out. When you watch the new one, although they did new scenes and changed it up,
and they added more. I mean, there's more to it. They got more out of the book too, and I think they did a better job too with the bully. God, why am I blanking on his name? The bad bully.
What does the matter?
Yeah,
but
he's an important part of that though. And he's got a small role in like the original one. I mean, he's got a role in there, but I think they do a better job in the second one.
Yeah, I will like the original when they're like in the sewer and like they pull the kid through the pipe. That was creepy, man. Like that scene was really creepy.
Yeah, he folds
in half, and pulls him through the pipe.
No, I hear you. On my short list, brother.
Scary movie.
Jeremy, did you ever see it?
No, I remember when we were in the clinic and you like were just like giddy that the new one was coming out. You're like, ooh, look at this trailer. Like, no.
It was to go home. You took PTO for the afternoon.
No. I don't want to watch any of that.
I kind of want to go back and watch it again because I know what you're saying. Like the first time I saw a trailer for that, the remake, I was like, damn, they're nailing this. Like this is.
It was like I swear, if I'm remembering, like the trailer had just like the balloon floating along.
Yeah,
it's just creepy. Yeah.
Like the first trailer though was like like Georgie was running, and you're like, oh, this is intense. And then he like hits himself on the side, and you're like, oh. But then it goes right into the horror.
In the new one, I've only ever streamed it. I've only ever streamed it, and I will not watch the beginning of it.
Yeah,
I cannot do that.
And
Georgie get it.
Yeah, that's the tough part because like in the new one, I think when he like rips his arm off again, I don't think that's very scary. I think it's kind of cheesy.
And, the arm I've seen. Okay, so I had it going right in the background. I'm doing other stuff. And like when his arm extends out, Georgie's trying to crawl away, but his arm like extends. Yeah, I mean it's giving me goosies right now, bro.
Yeah, that's the tough part is they show him like with his arm ripped off, like screaming, for his life. That's
I'm constantly
powerful.
I can equate this stuff real life to like in my mind. When I watch that, I picture like Bill as like my oldest son Connor, and then Georgie's gun because they're about like the same, like 12 and 6 years apart, 13 and 7 now. And I can just picture that stuff so much, right? And it's like, oh, that would just be the worst. That like, and the whole thing, and then it changes. It still holds up as a dad because he's targeting kids, right? And he kills adults too, but I mean, kids are who he really goes after. They're the ones that are missing. And Stephen King created such a good mythology of Derry, Maine that bleeds into, I mean, he does that with all of his books, but Derry bled into a lot of his other pieces of fiction, and it's good stuff.
Yeah, it's my numero uno.
So
a cheater, maybe not a movie, but sorry, everybody. That's really hold me at gunpoint. My bad.
Okay, I'll count it. I'll allow it.
My number 6 was Gremlins, so you could just adjust my list however you want. So
up or down.
Yeah.
Okay. My number 1. Should I Casey this thing and lay a lot of stuff out?
Yeah, of course. Everybody loves it. That's all the feedback.
I can't. It's gonna be so obvious. But my number 1 was a movie that I didn't. Obviously, it didn't come. It came out like right when I was born. So I didn't see it for quite a while, but I heard lots about it, and tried my best. I never finished it never completed start to finish until like the third viewing, I want to say, because I'd have to stop it. And I was like, oh my God, I've been too worked up. Now I still love it. I think it holds up. It's considered a modern classic, but it's The Thing from 1982 with John Carpenter. And again, body transformation. He takes over, kind of replicates the people. There's that element to it itself where you don't know who is a real human being anymore and who's been taken over. The effects are absolutely mind-blowing. And I love it. To your point, Casey, the practicality of it is a whole nother level. It was, night and day ahead of whatever else was going on out in 1982. And I know that was Rob Bottin. I've seen so much of the work behind the scenes on that. And the dude worked himself into dehydration and exhaustion, working on this film and trying to perfect all these amazing scenes with the alien and the people and who it's attacking and everything like that. There's classic moments. I remember being a kid and just I stopped it the moment the chat, he goes to do, you've seen it, right? You guys have seen it? Okay, Casey saying yeah, Jeremy saying no. The moment they get the paddles out and they go to do the defibs and the chest opens up and turns into teeth.
Yeah.
And rips his arms off, bites them off. I stopped it there the first time. So I never actually saw the head. I never saw the head detach and turn into a spider.
Yeah, which is later even more terrifying.
Oh my God. And then the tongue,
the chest part's scary.
And then the added effect, he uses the tongue to hit like a table of or leg of a table and crawl away. And it's yeah. Thank Jesus that Kurt Russell saw that and flamethrowed him. But it's such an awesome film. still like there's such an amazing element, being spooky element, being in Antarctica, so secluded. The score is by Ennio Morricone, who, you know, it's just a synthesizer score, but I think that fits. That's the 80s, right? It's 82, so it fits.
Always appropriate.
And it's just simple riffs. I think it's just bass riffs. It's like, you know, but it's very ominous throughout the whole film. And I don't know. Casey, you've seen it. What do you think? Crap?
Oh, that movie's phenomenal.
Crap.
Yeah, I guess I probably didn't see it until I was older. You know, that's probably why it's not on the list. You know, it wasn't one of those that like happened to roll into our rotation. I don't know why my brother wasn't into it either. I don't know.
Yeah. I remember being drawn to the movie jacket, like the original one with like.
Yeah, see, I don't even remember.
It looks like
we were talking about VHS
suit.
jackets. I don't remember that one.
It looked like a dude in a spacesuit, but like the mask was like just blinding light shining out of it. It's like the thing, you know. It's just caught my attention right away.
Yeah, wasn't creepy enough. It wasn't a disembodied hand ringing a doorbell.
No.
Be kind.
I liked it. I've always been more of a sci-fi horror type of guy rather than I lean into that more than the supernatural. So that's where I think maybe Jeremy and I differ there.
And probably
the
where
supernatural is scary.
Like, I'm okay with sci-fi, but it's definitely not my nom de plume. I don't know what the French say.
To each his own. I think when it's done well, I think it's an amazing genre. I think it's unlimited possibilities. The theater of the mind can really take over.
Yeah.
Well, that's my number
Great
one.
movie.
The Thing.
Good
John
choice.
Carpenter's
A lot of people would agree with you. I think, the not knowing, you know, that's the tension is so powerful.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, there's very few movies like that where that tension is so high for so long when it's all said and done. And still, even when it's said and done, you don't like 100% know. Like,
you don't know. Yeah.
Right.
He leaves it open-ended.
But you're exaused, right? Like, you're physically
Yeah.
exhausted when that movie's over. Alien is probably that same way because of the
Yeah.
atmosphere we talked about. Like, by the time the movie's over, you feel like you experienced it. Like, you're tired, you're exhausted.
Yeah, you're kind of your nervous system's been amped up the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Whereas, you know, most the other scary movies, you know, like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, you get the jump scare and you get an adrenaline spike, and you know, and then it goes down.
You get your let me up moments.
Yeah, you never get to that point where you've like totally gotten rid of all your adrenaline and now you're just a cortisol dump. You know, you don't get to that with most movies, but I would say Alien and Thing are right up there, man.
Yeah. Well, we're on that was a great top 5, boys. Very different. Each of our lists was very. I don't think we had a single overlap, did we?
No.
Yeah.
We have to have we need a 3-month respite from scary movies on top 5s.
I think that puts us in October. I can.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, all right.
And that gives you some time to build up a little base.
I'll watch some more scary ones.
Scariest movie, the top 5 scariest movies of 2022.
Yeah. So we got Eve of Stranger Things, Volume 2 dropping tomorrow.
You gonna stay up? You gonna watch them at midnight?
Yeah, I assume you two are gonna digest it.
I'm not going to sleep tonight. I'll just watch it all.
Are you really gonna watch it?
No, I'm gonna go to sleep.
I've never actually followed. So does it officially just drop at midnight? Is that how
Michelle looked it up no, it's weird. It's 2 a.m. Central or something like that. I think she looked it up last time because she was kind of teasing do we do an old school midnight, watch? And then she looked it up and I thought she said 2 p.m. or 2 a.m.
Boy, yeah, you wouldn't get a lot of sleep, huh?
No, and plus I kind of like that I'm gonna work tomorrow.
It's like the day before Christmas.
And then I'm building it up. I'm building the excitement, And then then I finally get to see. So
Fred Flintstone when that whistle hits tomorrow, huh?
Yabba dabba doo.
Yeah. See ya. Instead of going through the door, you jump through your window, dive into your car. It's already started because you left it running at 8 a.m. just so you can get in and go right away.
With y'all brothers on this real quick. Predictions on the big thing is who's gonna die. Who are they gonna kill off from the main cast?
Will,
you think Will?
I think Hopper's dead for sure, right? I mean,
no way. He's got.
I disagree with both.
He's got other stuff going on. I feel like he's on his way out.
That's it. So you think Will?
Who do you think?
I feel like they got to give Will one season with a good haircut. Like you can't kill him with that hair. Like that's not fair to him.
He's not gonna get fair to me between part 1 and part 2. He's not getting a do.
I think Will's gonna have a lot. My gut tells me Will's gonna have a lot to do with the final season.
I think so too. I think that's like he's the hero of the show, right?
Full circle. Like it's gonna come full circle. He's been through a lot of crap, so I could see that.
Maybe
I'm torn. Like I think Eddie. I'm kind of leaning. I think Eddie's gonna kill it or get killed. I hope he doesn't because I like him. And I think there's money in that. There's money in that character. Moving on, but I also like Steve. But there's a lot of talk about Steve getting it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they're all maybe.
I haven't been on the message boards.
I could be okay if Jonathan dies. I'm like,
that dude's been dead since season 1.
Right. He's just kind of whiny and mopey and I'm like, why is she with him? Why is Nancy?
And he's like the only guy that seems like he doesn't enjoy being on the show. Like
he's just there.
Yeah, like all the other kids, it's like, yeah, you can tell like a little bit underneath they're just having fun and like it's a cool experience. He's just like, oh, hey. Just trying to be like successful in life and whatever. We should date. My life stuff.
So I really don't know who, honestly, but
yeah. What if no one dies?
What if they all die?
I don't want any of
well, yeah, what if there's like a toilet? There's like an epic at the end, like 11 and 1 go at it, and then it just explodes the universe and everyone dies.
God, I think we've lost Nick. He's so excited. Maybe Nick's the one to die. Oh God.
Oh no.
Oh,
I froze up. I think you guys all froze up. I froze up for a while. I missed that whole thing. Sorry. Did I freeze up on you guys?
Yeah, we were predicting you were the one that was dying.
Only inside.
He was so he went catatonic. He was so high.
Yeah, I thought you were just seeing if you could go invisible by not moving.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out. I can't wait to break it down with you boys. Maybe next week. Maybe we'll find a way to do this pod together, Jeremy. When I'm out there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that would be fun. I'll feel left out. That'll be nice.
We'll do. And then we got to plan a way to get together and get the wolf pack in person.
You got it.
PPS. Be a good time to do it.
Definitely. That could be a really fun one.
We could do like a week of casts. We could have guests every night.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then we wouldn't have to do a show for like a month. We could just air them once a week. Yeah, save myself some time. I'll pack my mic up. We'll do it that way.
Sorry guys, I can't go to the afternoon session. Got a show.
Yeah, but 5 to 10, we could have 8-9 episodes in before that week's over. Yeah, but until next time, thanks everybody for listening. It was a blast. If you got any suggestions on things you want us to talk about, heck, you want to shoot us research articles and you want us to talk about, you got book recommendations that we need to read and talk about, shoot them ptshoptalk@gmail.com. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter. I promise I will get better at doing stuff with that. And until next time, I'm Casey Hansen. With me as always is
Nick Doling. You were so
VanKlompenburg.
You're supposed
to layer the showdown. I like the showdown. How long?
Who's gonna blink first?
What's up, bro?
Until next time. See you, everybody.